folks, let's now go to Texas, where President Joe Biden is launching a federal task force after the U.S. Supreme Court formally refused to block the controversial new abortion law in the Lone Star State. Biden blasted the high court's decision and ensured a total federal effort against the law in a statement that reads following: by allowing a law to go into effect that empowers private citizens in Texas to sue healthcare providers, family members supporting a woman exercising her right to choose after 6 weeks, or even a friend who drives her to a hospital or clinic, it unleashes unconstitutional chaos and empowers self-anointed enforcers to have devastating impacts. Complete strangers will now be empowered to inject themselves in the most private and personal health decisions faced by women. Folks, it was late last night. The Supreme Court, in the 5-4 decision, chose, first of all, not to intervene in the Texas law. Now, some have said it is unconstitutional. The law, which took effect yesterday, prevents women from getting abortions after 6 weeks of gestation. It also allows private citizens to sue anyone who helps a woman obtain an abortion. Ian Faye Metzger from Planned Parenthood Foundation joins us right now. I'm glad to have you on the show. A lot of folks are saying that this is devastating, that essentially ends Roe v. Wade in the state of Texas. The Supreme Court could have put a halt to this particular this particular law, but they chose not to. They are going to, though, hear another case out of Mississippi that has a 15-week ban. And so what's interesting to me is that when I see folks who have been reacting in shock, I don't understand why they're shocked. The Republicans made it perfectly clear these are the kind of Supreme Court justices they were going to put on the court. They now have 6. Chief Justice John Roberts sided with the 3 liberal justices, but the conservatives didn't need his vote because they already had 5 solid Republicans, conservatives, who many believe are going to vote to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yes, I think that when Donald Trump was president, he made it very clear early on that he was going to pick from a certain list of judges who would overturn Roe v. Wade. And we're definitely looking down towards the end of that, of this 50-year precedent that has long been established. It's really, really stunning that we're at this point. This was 50 years of precedent. Texas turned the clock back 50 years, and the Supreme Court let them get away with it. And as you said, Roe is now effectively meaningless in that state. We, as you mentioned, also have this other law that is being heard this fall, potentially, in the Supreme Court, a 15-week ban that, again, is undercuts Roe completely. But we are still, going to fight for the rights of women across the country. This is a really, really dark couple of days. But we have been, for a long time, making clear and talking through the bullhorn about this and about where we are. And I think that people are finally waking up and paying attention.
But the fact of the matter is a lot of people were still asleep. This law was going through. There wasn't a lot of attention on it, not a lot of media attention. And again, having that 6-3 conservative majority of the Supreme Court gave them what was needed. And frankly, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I think one of the failures of progressives and Democrats is that they did not pay as much attention to the federal courts and the Supreme Court as the right did. I mean, they made it clear this is what they were going to do. There were no bones about it. And I don't care what Senator Susan Collins said when she was assured that Brett Kavanaugh was not going to overturn Roe v. Wade. I never believed for a second that was the case, and I absolutely knew Amy Coney Barrett was going to overturn it. And so the reality is this: when the Supreme Court takes up the Mississippi case, they may very well overturn Roe v. Wade, making it illegal in the United States to actually have an abortion.
That is the reality. And we know that if Roe is gutted or overturned, that 26 states are already poised to ban abortion. We've already been hearing states talking about copycat laws like this Texas law in the South that could, as soon as next month, we could see more of these laws popping up. It's a really, really terrifying time to be a woman in this country, somebody who supports reproductive justice, because again, the majority of Americans do support safe, legal abortion and want that to be accessible for all people. But the courts and the judiciary, they just do not reflect the values of the American people. And it was Trump and Mitch McConnell's pipe dream to remake the judiciary, and they definitely accomplished that. So
what is next? What is Planned Parenthood doing there in Texas? because I saw a number of different tweets where there were various clinics who were trying to perform as many abortions as possible. There were like hundreds of women who were waiting. And so what is exactly happening right now in Texas?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have a lot of clinics that are seeing a higher volume of patients calling them. The patients are very scared. They're confused. They're fearful. They want to, if they can, and have the means to get out of state to secure an abortion if possible. Many of our health centers are, all of our health centers are complying with the law, to be clear. They had to face an impossible choice, whether that was to, give the compassionate care that they were trained to do or face ruinous legal costs. So they are all complying with the law. But the impact has been very, very real and very swift. I mean, I'll also say, before the law even passed, for weeks out in August, our health centers were afraid to book abortion appointments past September because they knew that this was coming. So they are doing everything they can. They are working with partners on the ground, with abortion funds, with patient navigators to get people out of state where they need to get out of state, to provide the direct funding, the technical assistance that is necessary because, it's lodging, it's transportation, it is childcare costs, it is a whole host of things that we have to consider when we're trying to get people out of state. But it is a challenge, but we're up for it. And we're also going to continue fighting in court and fighting this law because, again, it is unconstitutional. And we need to make sure that it is wiped from the books in Texas.
And already we are seeing other states moving quickly. Florida has already announced that they're going to create a law identical to the one that was passed in Texas.
Yes, Florida. There was also an Arkansas state legislator that has tweeted about it today. So it is coming. And this is what we expected. And for years, we knew that the anti-abortion activists wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they have found a way to circumvent the Supreme Court and the Constitution by passing a law that has a private right of action that allows private citizens to act as bounty hunters and sue providers and people who help people access abortion. And so this is real, and we are ready for the fight. We have long said that this was what was coming. We are shocked that people are only now paying attention, but here we are, and we're going to, rally all the support that we can get to really fight these and to elect people who will stand with us.
All right, then. It certainly is going to be a very difficult path forward, and we'll see what happens. Ian Faye Metzger, we sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I want to bring in my panel right now, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University, Reese Colbert, Black Women's Views, as well as Faraji Muhammad, radio television host. Reese, I'll start with you. The point that I made to Ms. Metzger is simple. I don't know why Democrats and progressives are shocked. Republicans were very clear and have been clear that they would do whatever they needed to do to put conservatives on the Supreme Court. Democrats did not pay much attention to a lot of people. 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and he was going to appease the evangelicals. That's what happened. He got three out of those 6 picks. So I'm going, why are you shocked?
This is exactly what they've been trying to do for decades now, and they've finally accomplished it in the state of Texas. This is a failure on every level, state, local, federal level, to protect Roe v. Wade in the state of Texas. And so a lot of people have a lot of blame to go around. I definitely think that the Democrats consistently fail to convey the importance of the Supreme Court, of these judges. That's something that we emphasized last year in the run-up, where we had to beg and plead with people to please vote because another 200 judges potentially were on the ballot and were hanging in the balance if Mitch McConnell and Trump got another crack at it. And they already got over 200 judges that will be on there for at least a generation, if not more. And so this is unsurprising. I've seen people call it the American Taliban, which I'm not defending the Taliban, be clear, but this is as American as apple pie. We have always had second-class citizenship in this country. For Black people, we still trying to get full citizenship, trying to not get shot by the police, walking down the street, minding our business. For women, our reproductive rights have always been under assault. We still have pay gaps, and we have worse health outcomes in a number of areas, particularly Black women and Black maternal mortality. And so this country has never, ever granted women full citizenship. And so this is completely American. It's completely on target with what we should expect from Republicans. And anybody who voted for Republican, they're a single issue voter on maybe taxes or maybe other things. You have culpability in this, and anybody who didn't vote or anybody who didn't take it seriously, maybe you voted a protest vote or something like that. This is on you. And the problem is we don't have the tools just yet, at least for the next couple of years, to undo this because they have control of the courts. And so the only way to really undo this is to get control of the Senate, and where you actually have a sizable enough majority who will either overturn the filibuster or pass legislation that will enact Roe v. Wade. And then as far as these states are concerned, as your guest pointed out, 26 states are already ready to go with these abortion bans. And so people have to take their head out of their ass and realize that the status quo is no more under this country. And Republicans understand that they don't have to win elections in order to get their extremist agenda passed. They don't even really need their voters. That's why they let them take ivermectin and not take the vaccine and protest mass mandates, because they already have the power that they need in the courts. So we have a lot of work to do to undo what's been done, and I hope that doesn't take decades to do that.
This right here, Greg, is what I keep saying constantly. When we say elections have consequences, when we say you have to learn how to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. There are people who said in 2016, I'm not voting for the Supreme Court. Yes, you are. I mean, I remember a woman calling to my radio show saying, I just simply can't vote for Hillary Clinton, so therefore I'm going to focus on state issues in my state of North Carolina. And I said, okay, name those top 5. And the top 5 issues she named all had a federal impact. And she then said to me, she says, wait a minute. She says, are you serious? I'm like, yes. I said, do you think that somehow you are divorced from what's happening in Washington, D.C.? I said, the person who is the president of the United States, this is one of her issues. She says, police reform. I said, Attorney General, Department of Justice. I said, who do you think picks the Attorney General? I said, the president. I said, you're living in North Carolina. You're fighting for voting reforms. I said, federal judges. You do know it was federal judges in your state that ruled that the racial gerrymandering, when we were targeting African Americans with voter suppression, I said, ruled unconstitutional. She was like, really? I said, yes, federal judges. Who do you think appoints federal judges? The president. Who do you think confirms federal judges? U.S. senators. I said, you can't act as if who the president is, who the U.S. senators are, has no bearing on your issues.
And of course you were right, Roland. Of course you were right. I'm actually very encouraged by the White Nationalist Party of Texas. I encourage them because the seeds for this fight were planted when the first white settlers came to this place we call the United States. This was inevitably what was going to have to happen. There is no we are better than this, because there is no we. This is a settler state. And so as a consequence, they have forestalled it. The Civil War was once. The so-called civil rights movement, the 20th century, was another. But this fight was always coming, so I welcome it. When this ban on abortion will be a ban on poor people, poor Black and brown women. The rich will get on their jets and terminate their pregnancies out of the United States. And what you will see is, and this is why the study of history is so important, you will see an approximation of the Underground Railroad. During the years living up to the Civil War, people broke the law. Africans like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass stole themselves. They were federal and state criminals. You're going to see something similar when people fund folk to go out of state to civilized states to terminate pregnancies. So I very much encourage this. I encourage the white nationalists to say it with their whole chests, because it is going to lead to the final resolution of the central fundamental contradiction to this settler state called the United States of America, and that's white supremacy. And make no mistake about it, I agree with you, Reese. White supremacy, the face of white supremacy at its core is a white male face. The handmaid, Amy Coney Barrett, is part of a Catholic fringe organization. She has been placed there because enough white women have taken the Christian extremist route to submit themselves to these white males. So please understand that when Justice McGonigal-Gorsuch, Justice Beer Kavanaugh, the handmaid, Amy Coney Barrett, joining with Clarence Thomas, who was one of the most thoroughly convicted supporters of this white male nationalism that you have in the history of the United States Supreme Court, they have scared the hell out of the man that started this mess. Who is he? Johnny John Roberts. Because John Roberts has run much of his jurisprudence, much of his judicial decision making through the First Amendment. That's freedom of association. And when you read John Roberts' dissent in this order that came down, and what the order did was refuse to enforce a temporary restraint on the execution of this law, John Roberts made the point, joined by Sotomayor, joined by Breyer, joined by Kagan, that the majority, including Sam Alito, another convicted fringe Catholic, and those who don't like this, I suggest you read and think before you open your lips to debate. What Roberts points out, and then what Sotomayor does the most brilliant job of, I encourage people to read her dissent in this, is that the defense, y'all understand, the defense of the state of Texas in their application to allow this law to stand, their defense was they can't enforce the law. They wrote a law that says any private person is now deputized like a damn lynch mob to stop an abortion. Their defense before the Supreme Court the last 2 days was, we wrote the law, but we can't enforce it. And guess what? The Supreme Court bought the argument, which is what led Sotomayor to say, this is the most absurd ruling. Now, I'll end with this. Just like Douglas, just like Tubman stole themselves from slavery, thereby making themselves criminals, the law, state, local, or federal, is only as good as the ability to enforce it. So come on, white nationalist party, let's rock. What you're going to find out is you may have the judges, but people will decide, in the words of Martin Luther King, that an unjust law should not be obeyed. And maybe we'll finally get down to the resolution of this criminal enterprise called the United States of America.
Taraji, Republican conservatives have been focused on this, the Federalist Society. Again, they had a very clear plan. They did not like what happened in the 60s with federal judges driving through civil rights. That's what all of this is from. They made it clear. We want to create a top upper echelon legal society that can compete against so-called the liberal groups who went to Harvard and Yale. So they said, we're going to send our same right-wing conservatives there. That's what the Federalist Society is born out of. They were in control of all of Donald Trump's picks. And so, again, to people who are sitting here today going, oh my God, I can't believe this, you simply have not been paying attention to the last 40 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's take it another level, Brother Roland and Dr. Conrisi. This is not a political issue. This is a human rights issue. What I would hope to see is that women and men join and organize together to ensure that women have the right to an agency to their own bodies. What we're seeing right now in Texas, and it's really unfortunate, is that when a woman is, and I think Reese hit the nail right on the head, when a woman is constantly assaulted, reproductive rights, and all of these other issues day in and day out, I mean, what are you saying about the value of the woman? Because I was always raised up, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that a nation can rise no higher than its woman. And so we're in a period of time where if the woman is subjected to this type of control, and Dr. Carr put it out there about white nationalists, which was absolutely on point. So all of these things are creating an environment and a culture to open up the floodgates to women being disrespected, women being raped, women being diminished, the contribution of women. I'm not just talking about Black women. I'm talking about women from the Latino community. Hell, I'm talking about white women. This is a real situation that if men and women don't come together to organize around and to speak out against, we're going to see, and as you said, your guest said, Brother Roland, Miss Metzger said, 50 years is going to be pushed back. And I'm looking at the chatter, and I've been looking at the talk around this. People want to keep this political, and it is political. You're right. You're talking about federal judges. You're talking about federal agencies. Hell, you're talking about the President of the United States. But if we keep it there, I think that people won't get it until they understand it, that this is human rights at its finest and at its fullest. It's about saving, protecting, preserving the choice and the lives of women. And so if we are not at a point to understand the implications of this, we're going to see a nation like we're starting to see in these other 26 states, a nation that's going to be on a decline, a fast decline, because we're going to say enough is enough.
I'm trying to let people know this goes beyond abortion. This is a myriad of issues that this conservative Supreme Court, and trust me, a lot of those issues directly impact black people, and trust me, they are not on the side of black people. And we already know Clarence Thomas isn't. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, Seek.com is a black-owned virtual reality company founded by Mary Spio. That's right, VR is all the rage. The ability for you to be able to actually be immersed in the space to feel what's going on. Imagine being at a concert and you're watching the concert, but you're actually in the seat in the concert. And so that you can able to see that great videos and all kinds of different things on Seek.com. Using their VR headset, you simply just drop your phone right into here. And again, you're able to then immerse yourself in the experience right there. Also, of course, they have these great headphones right here, the 360-degree headphones. You can use this for gaming. It's Bluetooth. You can talk on them as well. The bass is tremendous. I love jamming these when I'm on airplanes. Folks, you can get these by going to Seek.com using the promo code RMVIP21, RMVIP21, where you can get these. And when you purchase one or both of these, a portion of the proceeds comes back to us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. You know, we support black-owned businesses, and it's the black-owned businesses giving back to us as well. So go to Seek.com, CEEK.com, to get these items.